What's going on, everyone? My name's Eric, and on the channel today we have the 2006 Made in China Dean from Hell. This was the more affordable and accessible version of the USA-made Dean from Hell that was limited in 2005. That was one of 150, and that was initially made as a USA signature model for Dimebag's return to Dean guitars, which eventually turned into a tribute model to mark his untimely passing. So what we're going to do here on this guitar here is something that a lot of us Dean and Washburn Dimebag fans like to do with these import guitars. What we're going to do is mod this guitar here and kind of take it up to a USA level in terms of specs. This is not, I'm not talking about rebuilding the guitar from the ground up and making it actually feel and play like a USA Dean or a Washburn D3. That is entirely out of the question. What we're doing is doing some simple mods to the guitar to make your budget guitar, like your import guitar, get a little bit closer to where those American guitars are sitting, since those ones are so far out of most people's price points. So regarding the Dean from Hell that we're gonna work on today in the video, I have a few different parts that we're gonna throw onto the guitar because the guitar, believe it or not, is spec'd pretty well from the factory. You have the Grover tuners, which are gonna be the same on the USA model. You also have a Bill Lawrence XL500 in the bridge, and that's gonna stay the same. But if you are in a different situation, you would then change your stock bridge pickup to a Bill Lawrence or to a Dimebucker. But in terms of this guitar specifically, what we're going to do is change out some of the more crucial parts that the USAs have and that the import guitars didn't have. For starters, we're gonna go with an authentic Floyd Rose bridge here. And that's just gonna be replacing the licensed Floyd Rose. There's a lot of people online who give the licensed Floyd Rose a hard time, saying that it doesn't really stay in tune that well. I have some Floyd Roses in my personal collection that are licensed, and some of them are great, some of them are not so great. It all depends on the quality of the overall bridge and the design, since the licensed design goes from manufacturer to manufacturer, so depends on if you get a good one or maybe if you get a dud. So this is an easy fix to make sure your guitar stays in tune really well. You can go with a Floyd Rose or a German Schaller or a Goto Floyd Rose as well. All depends on what your budget is, but in this case we're just gonna stick with a Floyd Rose. Next thing that we're gonna change is this here. We're gonna change the neck pickup out. That's just an unbranded Dean pickup in the import Dean from Hell. We're gonna go with the Dimarzio Aaron Norton. This is what my friend who owns that guitar wanted. If you wanna get it a little bit more era correct, what you're gonna wanna do is throw in a Seymour Duncan 59 bridge pickup, or you're also gonna throw in a Dimarzio Super Distortion in the neck as well. That's what my American Dean from Hell has, and that's what the 2015 and 2018, like Dean from Hell and the Far Beyond Driven, that's what those guitars have as well. You could also throw in a Bill Lawrence in the neck as well, especially if you're running a Dean from Hell. Dimebag had a Bill Lawrence XL500 chrome housing in the bridge and the neck in the late 80s, early 90s. You can see those in some of the earlier Pantera videos from the Cowboys from Hell era and some promos from the Power Metal era as well. All depends on what kind of era you want to go for to recreate your Dean from Hell or to mod your import guitar, whether it's an import Dean or a Washburn 333. And the final thing that we might be doing on this video is switching out the volume pots here. Now that might not be a big issue, but on the American ones, those have 500K ohm potentiometers here for the volumes. A lot of these imports that I've played and that I've owned, they have the 250 value, so there might be a little bit warmer sounding. So these 500s, they open the pickups up way more and you get a lot more headroom and a lot more clarity out of them. Is it going to be a huge difference? It might be on your rig. I've heard mixed reviews. Even in my own practice, it's not really a giant night and day difference. You might be able to get away with it by adding a little bit more high end onto the guitar. Now we might be changing these because I'm not sure what's in the actual Dean from Hell's electronics cavity, so we're gonna open that up as well and see if we actually have to change these or not. So if you have 500K ohm pots in your guitar, just leave them, but if you wanna change them from the 250s to the 500s, by all means, go ahead. These are really cheap and easy to do. But as I said, with these mods that we're gonna throw onto the guitar today, these are gonna make your import guitar kind of punch up a little bit, because I know not everyone is able to afford some of those more expensive guitars that are, you know, hanging in your local music store. Especially a lot of these USA Dimebag guitars, or even like the USA Zakk Wylde guitars. Those are really hard to come by, and when they do show up, they are going for a lot of money. So what I've always recommended is taking a guitar that is less expensive and upgrading it with some better parts. So this video is gonna show you how to do all that, so then you can have an actual awesome guitar, and then maybe you're not going to be worried about taking your very expensive guitar on stage and getting it damaged, or playing your guitar in the studio and having that get damaged as well. Without further ado, let's get to modding. So now we're just about to install the Floyd Rose here, and there's a bit of an issue that you might run into when you're upgrading your import Dimebag guitar to the USA specs. Okay, so as we see here, this is the adjustment screw that adjusts the height of the Floyd Rose. This is the older style one that uses a slot screwdriver head to adjust it, and here's the new one from the original Floyd Rose. And this one uses the Allen wrench style, or the hex key wrench. If you look real close, it might be hard to see if my camera will zoom in. The threading is different on these two here. I thought this one was going to fit in the original mounting here, and it will not because the threading is different. Even if you line them up, you could see the original Floyd Rose threading is way more fine than the licensed by Floyd Rose. And that's the thing with these licensed by Floyd Roses. I've talked to people at Dean Guitars and other guitar companies, and by the sounds of it, the licensed Floyd Rose stuff, it will vary from manufacturer to manufacturer. So like the Dean stuff will change from Dean to Schecter to ESP, LTD to whoever else, you know, that's using the license by Floyd Rose stuff. And they're going to be changing so much. Same thing with the nut of the Floyd Rose as well. Keep that original as well. So what we're going to do is keep this original to the guitar, because that even the bushing that the adjustment screw sits in is actually bigger than the hole that it is routed for in here as well. So what we're going to so if you're going to have to take this out, you're going to have to do a little bit of extra drilling just to make the hole bigger for this to actually sit in there properly, or you hammer it in there and it might go in there straight. You know, that's risking a few things, and that's what we don't want to do here. And I just got off the phone with the owner. We're going to use the original stuff, and you know, not to get a little nerdy with you guys, but Dimebag's original Dean from Hell, you're going to see it on screen now, and his original Far Beyond Driven. Floyd Rose adjustment screws here, they were just like these ones. They were the slot head style, so we'll keep it original to, you know, what Daryl had on his guitar as well. And yeah, then we'll just install the Floyd, and that'll be pretty easy. One more thing to keep in mind, if you're swapping out for the Floyd, keep the nut on your guitar factory to however it is. These mounting holes for the screws here, they will change from manufacturer to manufacturer, and that goes from guitar to guitar, and it also goes from whoever is making that version of the licensed Floyd Rose. I've had to change a few Floyd Rose nuts in my life and replacing them with other actual Floyd Rose branded nuts. And the mounting screws holes here, the pilot holes, otherwise you're going to have to be refilling these holes and then re-drilling them to accommodate for a new nut that just says Floyd Rose. Personally, that's not worth anyone's headache or stress to do. Keep the original nut. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Otherwise, upgrade your Floyd Rose, and that's going to be a really big improvement to your guitar's performance and tuning stability. All right, now here's a bit of a caveat with installing your original Floyd Rose here. This one comes standard with a 37mm block, and it might be a little hard to see. It is exceeding the height of where the back plate is supposed to sit, so we're going to keep the back plate off of the guitar. But I am going to keep this one on because this is a high quality Floyd Rose block here. This will affect the sound and the tone and the sustain of the guitar, believe it or not. Some people think it is snake oil, but I have upgraded guitars to the big brass blocks or even just the general Floyd Rose ones over the licensed by Floyd Rose parts. And yes, there is a huge difference in tone and sustain, believe it or not. So keep this on when you get your Floyd Rose. So the one thing you want to do if you want to actually have your backplate on your guitar is get a smaller block from Floyd Rose or FU Tone. You know, and those are the Floyd Rose upgrade sites. And you can go and get like a 34 or a 32mm block, and that one will hold just fine, and then you will actually able to have this on the back of your guitar, and you will also have some pretty awesome tone instead of using the original block that came with your license by Floyd Rose. Floyd Rose. All right, and here's the 06 made in China first run Dean from Hell with all the new USA upgrades on it. Well, the USA spec guitar upgrades. We get the original German-made Floyd Rose. We have a Dimarzio pickup in the neck here with, unlike the unbranded Dean pickup, Bill Lawrence in the bridge in case you haven't done that already, or a Dimebucker in the bridge in case you haven't done that. On the back here, a little bit of some black hardware. Those don't affect the tone at all. It's just that's what Dimebag had on his guitar, and that's what comes standard on the American ones as well. We also have a string tree up here, which is now installed. Those are very easy to install as well. And that came standard on all the USA Deans and all the USA Washburns, and it did not come standard on the imports, which I find very odd because other companies like, you know, the big ones, even like Fender with their Floyd Rose, or just their tremolo guitars, they all have string trees of some sort, which I find really weird that Washburn and Dean never did that for their import guitars. Overall, I feel this guitar is better now. as weird as that might sound, like just changing the hardware. But yeah, honestly, like especially with the Floyd Rose, that does make a huge difference in the feel. You have a real genuine Floyd Rose, and it's not like a no-name, like licensed by Floyd or anything like that. And truly, it does feel better to actually use than the licensed by Floyd. Another thing I wanted to mention is that this guitar came with the traction knobs already dialed in from factory. If you want to see how to make those on your own, you can go check out the video that's linked in the cards right now, and you'll be able to see how those traction knobs are made. It's very easy, and you can do it on your own with just a soldering gun and these kind of knobs. And remember, this isn't gonna feel like a USA D3 or you know, a USA Dimebag of any sorts like that. That's just like a whole different animal itself. But these are gonna really improve your import guitar, so then maybe it can hold tuning better. Maybe it can even sound better as well, especially with the new pickups and the new bridge or any new hardware that you throw on the guitar. And at this point, if I didn't have the KISS sticker on the American one to let me know which one was which, I might be a little bit hard pressed to figure out which one is which, to be totally honest with you guys. Like, going up the fingerboard here, obviously one has a darker cut of rosewood, one has a bit of a lighter cut of rosewood. The big giveaway is that the American one has the little R by the Dean logo, Chinese one does not. They're both extremely comparable, and they're both built very, very well with each other. That changes a little bit as you get later on into the Dean saga, as you guys might know. I think with these two guitars right now, it's hard to spend the American prices, especially what they're going for right now, which you'll see on screen, versus what the imports are going for, especially if you want to just have this guitar on stage and play it live and not be worried about, you know, dinging it up or damaging it. And that's not to say these American guitars are bad or anything. I just have a hard time recommending guitars of this price point in the current market when they could get something that's much more affordable and much more attainable. Do a few things, hardware upgrades and everything like that, and you'll still have an awesome guitar at the end of the day. Would I play this one live? Of course. If a little bit beat up, I would of course play it. If this one was dead mint and I managed to find it, I would not play it live. I would do this. And again, if you're going to be playing these guitars live, or if you're going to be tracking with these guitars and you don't want to get the finish dinged up or anything like that, or if you don't want to get the body dinged up, do this. If you want to do this, you know, especially with the current prices, go ahead, do whatever you'd like. I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money, but bear in mind, if you really want to use these guitars, and if you are very cautious of how you play the guitar, and you don't want to get a really expensive investment all dinged up, do this. Learn a few extra things, and you're going to thank yourself in the long run. That's going to do it for today's video on upgrading your import Dimebag guitar to make it have a few more specs like the American counterpart that it is, you know, trying to rival. Let me know in the comments below if you've learned something new regarding upgrading your budget guitar, especially if you're trying to pay tribute to Dime and you are on a tight budget. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing already. There's going to be more videos always coming down the pipeline with topics like this, or with other just Pantera content in general, or even just regular covers, gear demos, and other things like that. I'm all for it. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.